Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to talk about that magical word tempo, why you must have it as a jungler, and how it can basically allow you to carry in every meta. Now, having tempo advantage means you actually end up having the ability to control the game. You put that enemy jungler on a string, you play him like a puppet, you are able to get the objectives, activate your game plan, and it does allow you a certain give and take in terms of mistakes. We don't want to make them, but at least with a tempo advantage, you're forcing the enemy jungler to be where they don't want to be. It's easier for you to track them, and most of the time, if you're good at this, you will end up winning a lot of games. So as always, if you do enjoy this video, please do consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. I have tier list infographics as well as all my full coaching sessions linked on my Patreon. Head to the gameplay channel for your gameplays. Coaching links are in the description. And now without hesitation, let's begin. Now obviously we have to begin with a definition. Tempo in my own words means having first move pressure on the map. To have tempo generally means keeping the flow of the game in your control. This is regarding ganks, invades, objectives, crabs, blue buffs, etc. Your plays force enemies to react instead of making their own decisions. The thing is, too many players below high elo and even in high elo miss opportunities to make game-winning decisions and simply to take control. Spotting these windows is what makes a jungler able to control the win conditions, whatever they might be, in any given game. Now, when we talked about this in Season 10 and 11, it was kind of a toxic concept. It was about who could full clear fastest and then battle over the crab either through a 1v1 prowess or lane priority. This is why things like Hecarim, Udi, and pro play jungling has been boring for quite a while. And obviously remember, you can do all of these things with a variety of junglers, any jungler in the game. So what does tempo actually allow to do, and how can we enable ourselves to have it in every game? I'm going to go through some scenarios in a variety of elos that will show you how we can achieve strong early tempo and how to continue that pressure to maintain game control. And maybe include some ways the enemy jungler could have regained tempo themselves should you be on the other side of the sad coin. First up, we want to talk about the clear speed advantage. Now, this is what I've been talking a lot about in my coaching sessions as well. People say, well, you know what, I can just 6 camp into crab, except by the time they've 6 camped, because they're not clearing properly, it's around 3:30. What if the enemy jungler in that time had done 4 camps, ganked, taken a crab, and was already moving to the second crab? That would be a travesty. They would have tempo advantage. So when you know you're against someone who's a little bit slower in clearing, the number of camps doesn't matter. With Volibear, you can do 5 camps and gank and be present for a crab all at the same time. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know what? I want a 6 camp Volibear just so I can get to the crab on time. Well, by 5 camping, it allows you to gank top lane. We burn a flash. The enemy jungler feels the need now to respond. He could have positioned his clear to make sure he counter ganked, but he wouldn't have been able to do anything. So instead tries to go for the crab. In a huge miscalculation of cosmic proportions, he dies. You have to know your 1v1 strategies, and this is what I'm talking about. The Xin should have adjusted his pathing knowing that a Volibear could match him. They started on the same side, and instead of trying to contest over this crab, easily could have started on the red side and made sure he got the bottom crab to offset the Volibear's top lane pressure. If you misjudge your early clears and game planning like this Xin did versus Volibear, you will end up behind on tempo very often. Yes, he kinda had lane prior, but the Aurelia killed the Kayle. Expected. Why didn't he decide to make himself present for that mid lane gank instead of going for the crab? He was obsessed over this crustacean. So what the Volibear does is you go through mid lane. Now, if you're a mid lane that doesn't kill the Kayle here, you can simply gank it, that's fine. You head directly to the bottom crab. You will note that the bottom lane for the red team has prior, so Volibear kites the crab to the top side of the river, secures it, and runs away. Part of tempo advantage is understanding what the enemy jungler did. When he met him at the top crab, you can tell, double buffs, 4 camps, 16 CS. Out of base after dying, most likely he's going to look to try and get that bottom crab. It also means if he doesn't get it, he's going to feel compelled to try and impact bottom lane and then try and sequence his tier 2 Grump and Wolves. So Volibear attempts a gank on the bottom lane. They disengage, his ADC dies, the enemy jungler shows up, that's fine, we can walk away. This is crucial here. If you could absorb a bit of juicy experience either through your mid lane gank, the bottom lane gank, that's huge. Move on then to your Krugs and Raptors. Why? Because if you go back to base right now, the enemy jungler might decide, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna counter jungle your Raptors. That gives him tempo advantage, that lets him get back into the game. No, you're gonna do a full sequence up. You'll be level 6 by the time you finish your Grump because you did a 5 camp to start. What do you think the enemy jungler is going to want to do for the same thing? Think about it. He has no other choice but to sequence up, catch up some experience, and then maybe look for a gank, which of course he does. Except Volibear is level 6 and he's level 4. Boom. You shove the wave with the Akali, you go back to base, all of a sudden there's an RNG crab bottom side, your second red buff, a dragon, a bottom lane gank, and you know the enemy jungler is gonna feel once again compelled to do his blue buff. There's not much else he can do already. The tempo advantage is all Volibear's. So you do these things. If you see bottom lane die again, because bottom lanes do, make sure you rotate, clean up a kill if you can, push the enemy jungler out of his jungle, and because you know their bot lane is dead and recalling, yours will be back to bottom lane first. Mid is kind of looking good for you. Free dragon. From here, you can sequence up to the top side. You'll notice the Volibear, as I talked about in the S+ Warwick jungle video, ignores the Krugs. Why? Because we want to maintain tempo advantage. We want to be first at the next objective. What's that? Top lane ganks, top lane heralds. The enemy jungler was seen and pushed into his blue side jungle. You know he's going to do blue grump wolves and head to the top side. He has no other choice. Which means if you decide to go to your Krugs, you're giving the enemy jungler a window not only to invade you and counter jungle you if you're busy bottom side, but perhaps even to gank a top laner who might be pushing in your game. So draw first blood. Do your Raptors, do your blue side, gank top lane before he does. And if he does choose to gank before you, you are still sequencing in that direction and you can counter gank. From here, you can take the Herald, you can dive mid lane. You shouldn't be able to lose control if you are at least focusing on the objectives and keeping impact in the lanes. You notice how the red side jungler could really do nothing, all because of his bad decision early, the volley's good decision early, and then the volley just kept the pressure on. What about gaining tempo advantage versus a ganking jungler and versus a farming jungler? Both have different concepts. This also includes that reactive power thing, because a lot of times junglers get into their first clears, and when they see someone low, they don't leave camps, they first finish the camps. You know what, if you're Warwick and you want to gank bottom side, and you do the 3 blue side camps into your red buff, but mid lane are fisting each other, well, rotate, let's grab a kill. At the very least, you grab a flash. This seems pretty good. If the enemy jungler is a ganking jungler like an Elise, it's very likely, as you saw on your screen, that they're doing the same kind of things somewhere else. Because you are doing a 4 camp, you now fall back to your red buff. But you know where the Elise is, you know she's in the river, you know she's most likely going to head to that mid lane. While this Elise does look for a nice easy cleanup, you could also trap them in the pixel bush, you could also look for different advantages. But the most important thing here is rotating for the cleanup instead of letting her get away. Don't worry about anything else, she's low, you can get there, no problems. Now you can fall back to the crab. Remember, a lot of tempo advantage is gained by understanding when the enemy jungler is dead or off the map, what can I do to force their next decisions to be suboptimal? In this case, you're taking the bottom crab. Immediately my mind is thinking, no, not bottom lane. I want to double crab and to snowball my mid laner. Kinda makes a mistake of not understanding that Warwick can chomp you through a wall and go over it. A lot of Warwick mains don't know that either, so if you're running away from him, don't stay so close to the wall. In turn, the Kiana falls. Now from Elise's point of view, she was gonna go bottom lane anyway. She decides to use long root pathing, scanning just to repeat gank bottom lane. A similar principle, and yes, she does get 2 kills, but because she didn't path properly and she basically lost all advantage of her ganking control, the Warwick is able to double crab, get 2 ganks mid lane, kill the Elise, and also sequence his tier 2 Gromp and tier 2 Wolves. He's finished the blue side quadrant and can go back to base. Why is this so important for tempo advantage versus ganking junglers? Because now what is the Elise going to do? Repeat gank bottom lane? Go to the top side and do Krugs and Raptors level 1? She's gonna lose a dragon then. She most likely will look to try and gank the mid lane again. As Warwick, you know this, you track it, you have nowhere else to be but bottom side Raptors and Krugs. We want the dragon, Elise is down a level, you're freshly bought. If they have laner support like the Elise does in the situation, back off from your camps, be safe. But what else can she do in this situation? Logically, she should not do the dragon. I agree, you saw this in the last video. Simply go back to your wolves and blue, but the problem is, if you do that, the Warwick is going to invade you, the Warwick is going to take your stuff, the Warwick is going to take the dragon. So she tries to sneak this away, which is kind of dumb, and dies for it. The very bottom lane she was trying to gank and get ahead, that was fine, that was great. But because of the Warwick's reactive pathing level 3, the fact that he got on the map at the exact same time, still cleaned up a kill on her, double crabbed, double sequenced his camps, and had gone back to buy at the perfect time, means that he has total objective, experience, and item level tempo control. She might feel like she's in control, but she's really not. The Warwick is, and now he has a prime situation to repeat gank mid, gank bottom lane, control the Elise on a string, and ping pong those objectives. Now if you do the same exact thing versus a Kayn who doesn't start on the same side as you like the Elise, you know that when you react to the mid lane gank, as the Warwick does again, and then you take your red buff, as he does again, takes a bottom crab, and then he decides to gank mid again, you know that the Kayn will have 1 full cleared or at least 5 camped, you know he's taking the topside crab, and if he decides to try and counter gank you because he feels he has to at this point, you just clean it up, you kill them. You are the jungle daddy, you're in control. He gets chunked and now is forced to base, unlike the Elise he doesn't die, so good job to him. The Warwick does the same thing, tier 2 Grump, tier 2 Wolves, goes back to base. Now I want to go bottom side for the Raptors and Krugs, I want to drag in, I want to gank bottom lane. Where is the Kayn going to go? He's going to go back to base, and will have to go down to the bottom side. Grump and Wolves are up, the second spawn. He sequenced to the top side, there's nothing for him on that side of the map. This is good for Warwick because now you can head directly to bottom lane. I think that's a better play. Get into the bush. You know the Kayn is going to be forced to gank. He feels the pressure of getting orbs, of not letting the Warwick get too far ahead. You can either do your Krugs and wait for it, or you can head to your lane and do it. Either way, make sure you predict this counter gank, put yourself in the position. Even if mid rotates first, you have a lead, go in and out, get your spells off, and now you have a free Drake. As a special note for a farming jungler, you see the Warwick here out of base, decides to get the blue, get the crab, gank the T1 on the top lane, make sure he dies, because you know the Kayn, once again, he's died again, yes? He's gonna sequence from the bottom side to the top side. Is this the most objective way for him to go about it? No, if he wanted tempo control, he now should have decided to do his red side, maybe gank top, try and contest a Herald and so on, but he simply cannot. The Warwick has total control here. Itemization, huge lead, and because he decided to skip his camps and instead get on the map first, he's rewarded with more kills, more minions shut down, more laner leads, and a Herald. And guess what? After that, you can clear your quadrant, go back to base, gank bottom lane, take the second dragon, and you're on your way. And that's the importance of tempo control early, because that first sprint to the dragon, that first sprint to the counter ganking specifically, the first sprint to the crabs, all of this means that the subsequent decisions for the jungler are not their first choice, they cannot impact the lanes, you have simultaneously ganked lanes, suppressed the enemy jungler from their dream, and you've secured the objectives. That is what jungling is about. What happens though if you have an early level 2 gank deciding to react, or maybe it's part of your game plan, and the enemy jungler's on the opposite side? What are you always worried about if you do red Krugs into a bottom lane gank? You're worried about the enemy jungler starting on the red side, 3 camping, and then stealing your blue. Is especially bad if you don't actually win the 1v1. So this Diana does red Krugs, reacts to a bottom lane fight, gets some kills. Instead of deciding to hang around, invade the Rumble's blue, deciding to go back to Raptors, you go back to base. You get that itemization spike from the gold you just earned, and you head directly to your blue. This is a challenging game and career as well, so if they don't see the lane priority available to them, and the Diana understands this concept that the Rumble might decide to flex into an invade, this is the best decision. Now you'll notice that Diana does the wolves before the blue. That's because she knows with double lane prior that, you know, in challenger career, the enemy jungler's not willingly invading into this doomed scenario. However, in your elos, they probably will, so I would go to the blue first, snipe them out of it, do your grump, do your wolves, then hit the crab, and then look to gank mid lane. That's the best way to control the tempo in this scenario. However, in the Diana's case, you're against a Lee Sin in the mid lane. It's kind of tough to lock down and kill, so she decides she's gonna do the wolves, blue, scuttle, grump, head back down to the Raptors and Krugs. The Rumble in this situation has done a full clear, has the bottom crab, knows that Diana went back to base to do her blue, so decides, you know what, I'm gonna sneak those Raptors away. Level 1, Diana gets a reset, very nice. The thing is, this puts the Rumble in an unfortunate situation. If he goes back to base and just resequences, the Diana's very clearly just gonna gank bottom lane again. The Diana also knows straight up that once the Raptors are gone, Rumble is in the area and might look to take away the Krugs as well, if he's feeling greedy. This means, as the Diana, you want to maintain the tempo advantage. Sometimes you have to go fist to fist and go fisting. Straight to bottom lane, engage in a 3v3, win it, kill the Rumble. Now what? AFK farming meta is gone, ladies and gentlemen. The spawn camp time is at 2:15, not 2 minutes. The experience on the map is less in the first 10 to 12 minutes. This kind of skirmishing and ganking should be rewarded. It has an inherent risk, but if you have tempo advantage on it, it's very difficult for an AFK farming jungler to get any sort of control over the game. Now obviously the Rumble is challenger too. He understands, you know, if the Diana has tempo control, I need to try and wrestle it back in some capacity. And if she has control over the bottom side, I'm going to try do my things on the top side. So if you're looking to see how game tempo can flow throughout the next 12 to 15 minutes in a high elo sense, I'm going to do a gameplay review on my other channel of this exact Diana game. And last but not least, we have the invades. We have the level 1 cheese invade, and we have the invade from simply having a faster clear. If you happen to get a nice level 1 invade because your team is all present, it's pretty straightforward about how you keep control. The Rengar invades, the Rengar gets the red. Instead of doing a full red side quadrant, the Rengar takes the Raptors, goes across mid lane into his red, and then Raptors. You might think, well, that's a little strange. It's not, because the enemy Sejuani started on the blue, grump, wolves. If you decide to go from the red Raptors to your blue side, the Sejuani is simply gonna get your red Raptors and Krugs, and now you're in vertical jungling. That's not tempo advantage. You guys are neutral. No, my lovelies. You wanna make sure that the enemy jungler that you invaded and stole stuff from feels stifled, because she's gonna be on the blue side thinking, oh great, I'll just go vertical jungle. As soon as the Rengar goes across mid lane, alpha moves into the red side, the Sejuani thinks, great, he's top side. I can just run across nice and slow and take his blue and grump. But that's a long way to walk just for some juicy experience. As I said, having tempo means having control. The Rengar knows this. So if you adapt your power thing like we did in that video a few months ago, red, Raptors, collapse on the fact that you know she's going to go to that blue. Your bottom lane recognizes this as well. Dead Sejuani, multiple Bone Tooth stacks. You can double crab, you can counter jungle, you can gank whenever you want. And once you get to that second spawn of the buffs, and you know the Sejuani is going to try and regain control of a jungle on the red, she's level 4, you're level 6. It's pretty obvious what happened. Now you can do dragon, now you can ping pong the objectives, now you win. However, should you be a farming jungler who just farms a little bit quicker and also wins those 1v1s, then you know what? 5 camp, look for ganks of course, but the goal here is to invade and suppress the enemy jungler from scaling, to stifle their experience gain, to not let them snowball, and it's a master use, so that's definitely what we want to do. Invade the blue. If you don't have prior, leave, but if you do have delayed prior, feel free to go and steal that Grom. Crab, across mid, ward nicely. Sometimes, you know, if you want to invade, the ward is more valuable than the scanner, but obviously in high elo, the scanner is what you need. If there is opportunity for you to gank the bottom lane, you can do so. However, make sure you take the second crab, you do your second Grump on wolves, full sequence to the top side, and gank the top lane if you can. You'll be level 6 from this. So both examples here, you've seen the Volibear do different things, but be level 6 way ahead of the enemy jungler. And now the enemy jungler, if he decided to go bottom side, which he had no choice to do, and counter jungle you, he could not. If he decided to go from bottom side straight up to your counter jungling red side, he could not. There's nothing on the map for him to counter jungle. This puts you in the best situation to counter gank bottom lane. Even if they die and you're not able to get anything, you're still able to have the advantage of HP, resources, and gold so that you can push them off, you can do the dragon, you can continue ganking and snowballing. If your lanes are winning and you don't exactly need to gank and you simply want to experience control and objective control, you have the farming tempo advantage, you have the objective ping pong priority, and you can sneak them away because you're on the red side. Having early tempo advantage from first clears, adapting your strategies in the early game to track, control, and win lanes and the jungle matchup is crucial to how you actually jungle. Remember, jungling is really the first 15, maybe max 20 minutes. That's when you have jungle farming, pathing priority, ganking opportunities. Past that, you guys are running around as a goon squad trying to, do some kind of spaghetti macro to win the game. Our jungle tempo advantage starts from level 1. If you can get that scaling to level 7 to 8 to 9, up to 10, 12 minutes, there will be no junglers that can defeat you. And remember, you can do it with any jungler. You just have to understand your matchups and how you want to reverse clear advanced pathing. I will leave links to the advanced pathing stuff below because if you're a farming jungler that loses 1v1s, it's a little bit different. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you're able to enjoy and learn something. Please do leave a like, share, and a comment if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the content. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.